Okay, we are gonna start by slap centering. So you're gonna slowly spin your wheel as you slap your clay. You're gonna wanna slap your clay with this part of your hands, not that part. And as you're slapping at first, you can kind of slap in and down so you can make sure that it's on the wheel. We're also using our bats. So once you have it slap centered, you're going to go ahead and center. If you do not know how to cone up, I would definitely look up that video. It's also on TikTok and I think a reel. So to speed up the process, we're gonna cone up. So this is 5 pounds of clay. We're all using 5 pounds of clay. This is our production unit. When I'm using a larger piece of clay, sometimes I scoot back on my wheel so I can stabilize both arms on my thighs. And then I'm using this part of my hand to bring this clay all the way down. And then I always have a little issue getting all the way here, so I take my finger, kind of scrape off that little skirt. And ideally, that should be pretty centered after the first few times. Now when you're coning, you want to make sure you don't get this hole right there. So you always want this to be your tallest point. So I'm going to cone up, cone down. My elbow is plastered into my left side, and then my right hand is secured on that left hand so that I don't wobble. Now for this, we're gonna have a 6-inch floor. So we want our centered piece of clay to be pretty wide. I would say this is probably 7 inches. We're centered, we're gonna make the center hole. This is nice and wet. Just like I've taught you guys, use your backwards L, elbow in really tight, and you're going to start making your hole. Now, if you can see how I've slip gathered here, I like to let that slip go into that hole so that I can go down a little bit further. I'm gonna go ahead and go down the length of my finger and then stop there. Fill that hole up. And now I'm gonna scoot back on my wheel. I'm gonna tighten, put both elbows into like my inner thighs. I'm gonna use all 4 of my fingers, although my middle finger is leading. And I'm going to, with my whole body and spinning my wheel full speed, I'm going to push that center hole down. Now, when you're working with bigger clay, you're gonna have to change some positions of your body, such as this. Now, I have my center hole in. I'm going to kind of cup my hand or hook my hand a little bit and attach it to my left hand. So this is the position I'm in, and these hands are gonna work together. We're not just pulling this back free Nelly. We're going to hook these together and pull back. And preferably, you're gonna do that in one movement. Nice and even. Okay, I'm going ahead and stop there because I forgot a very important step, and that is putting water in there. You want to put water in there so as you pull this back, your fingers don't start slipping. And we want to pull this floor about 6 inches. Go ahead and clean that water out. Now, we are using a new tool called a dragon. We have made these for this production project. And this right here, this measurement is 6 inches. This is 7 inches. So I can use this to know this is about 6 inches down here. Since I cupped my hand, this right here is wider than this rim, okay? We want to keep the rim tighter, because if we let this rim get big and then we start to throw and it comes out more, it's super hard to go back in. So we want to keep, as we're throwing, we want to keep this rim kind of coming in. Now the shape we're going for is a cylinder. I'm smoothing the bottom out. Remember, we don't want any holes in the bottom. We want it nice and smooth. And then we want a nice 90-degree angle down here. All right, I'm gonna show you a little different way of how to pull, how to make your first pull. You can see we kind of have this rounded and this kind of tucks under here. What you're gonna do is you're gonna make like a claw with your left hand, okay? And with this thumb, you're gonna tuck that kind of underneath there. I like to put my sponge with my, because I'm used to holding my sponge, and my fingers over my thumb. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring that wall up with that claw, okay? It helps really stabilize because these two have to come up together. And you can only do this with your first pull because, as you know, that claw won't be able to fit over that wall after the first pull. So, and also if you notice I'm throwing with slip, I like to throw with slip because I can keep it in place. Whereas if you're throwing with brand new water, the water just kind of runs off and goes everywhere and doesn't stay on the pot. Okay, so here's what this looks like. Also, while I'm doing this, I'm pushing in and up so that I can counteract the wheel's tendency to want to throw out, okay? So here's my claw. I'm putting my sponge and my fingers over my thumb, applying pressure, and I'm gonna bring that wall up. So this is one pull, and with one pull I can get about 5 inches. So that's one pull. When you're throwing, you want to have the goal of getting the majority of your pot thrown in 3 pulls. The majority of your pot thrown in 3 pulls. That helps so that you don't get the clay, don't wear out the clay doesn't get too soft, doesn't start to buckle, all those things. So I've added water, slip to my pot. Now I'm gonna go in. Now obviously I can't do the claw again, so I'm gonna have to go in, thumb inside, push that clay in from the inside and outside, make my little dent. I'm still pushing in a little bit towards the top so I can make sure it doesn't come out. I'm applying less pressure about halfway up, definitely less pressure here because it gets thinner. We want there to be even weight, so usually the weight hides at the bottom. So I'm putting, when I say I'm applying more pressure towards the bottom, what I'm really doing is my fingers are closer together at the bottom, and they're freezing in this position, and as they come to the top, they're spreading apart a little bit. So again, I'm making sure that there is slip or water all over the pot. What you don't want to do is you don't want to have a dry pot and then get here and your fingers stick and then it gets off center. So here's my third pull. Less pressure as I get to the top. Little to no pressure. All right, so usually on my second pull, I like to measure with a firefly, but I forgot, so here we go. So if you look up inside the pot, you can see the firefly is touching the bottom, okay? And these are right at the top. So what I need to know, or what I need to do next, is I need to bring my rim out a little bit, which is what I knew I would need to do, so that the rim, this fits right inside the rim. But the height from the inside is nearly perfect. Now, I've been doing this all day, so I've had some practice. It will take you practice, we all know. So I need this to become a little bit wider. I'm gonna do it first with my sponge. So getting that wet. I'm not making it any thinner or any taller. I'm just bringing this out. I would rather have it be too skinny and have to bring it out than have it be too wide and have to bring it in. Let's double check that with our dragonfly. Okay, it needs to come out a smidge more because I want these to be right inside that rim. But I'm gonna do that last one with wooden rib. So I'm using my inside finger. Actually, I'm gonna use the inside side of my finger. And I'm pushing towards my rib, making sure that my rib is straight up and down. Now you're gonna get these lines. You can get rid of them. Takes a little practice. We're gonna go right here. And that's pretty much where we wanna be. Okay, now I have a little bit of skirt here. Eventually I'd like to get to the point where I don't have any skirt, but if you do have a skirt, you're gonna go ahead and trim that off. You're gonna take your metal rib, and don't hold it like this. You're gonna hold it like this, where you're kind of petting it, because you want to smooth out. So your finger on the inside is like this and like this, and you're just smoothing out all the ridges from there. Let's talk about making the rim right here. On our dragonfly, we're going to use this for another tool here. There is a little Sharpie mark, and that is how we're going to measure the rim of this. So what I do is I line that up with the rim, and then I just angle the bottom of that in and make a little bit of a line. Okay? Now we want to do this because this is our production unit, and we want all of these to look exactly the same. Now to make the rim, we are going to use this part of the wooden rib, and we're going to put our hand on the inside. My hand's positioned more like this for this part, and we're actually going to put this down here, and our hand's going to be above it, and it's going to push out. So we're going to push this top part. This hand's going to stay steady, and we're going to push that rim out just a little bit, like so. I like to then go over this to make sure this is straight up and down. I also like to go back over this and make sure it's nice and smooth. And then you want to double check that this is a 90-degree angle, it goes straight up and down. You can then take a chamois, go over your rim with a chamois, make sure there is absolutely no water on the inside. Get a shot of the inside there. Clean off your bat. And then if you need to, again, you can take a little bit of clay off here. Now, for the undercut, we all need to have the same undercut because we're gonna hold our wooden knife like a pencil, okay? So you're gonna hold it like a pencil. You're gonna rest your your wrist on the splash beam so that we're all at the same angle. It's a 45-degree angle. When we go to push it in, we're gonna push it in about a half an inch, a little bit more than half an inch, okay? So we're gonna spin our wheel, medium speed. We're gonna go in quick and hold. Let me show you how much clay we're actually taking off. So we're gonna cut that like a cake, go underneath there. If you've cleaned off your bat, you should be able to just slip this right off. But look at how much clay we have coming off there. So if you have little to no clay coming off, you're probably not making your undercut big enough. And then I like to take a totally squeezed out sponge and just run it over that sharp edge. One of the last steps. You're gonna take a wire tool, twist it around your hands a couple times, and go from the out, far away from you. Bring this towards your body in one swipe. If you stop anywhere in the middle of the swipe, you're gonna have lines in the bottom underneath your pot. So you really wanna get in the habit of doing one swipe. Go ahead and take this off and you're gonna put it in the damp cart.